Interpersonal Communication Project. Next slide. Welcome to my Interpersonal Communication Project for Human Services 508 at Liberty University, taught by Dr. Gillen. I will identify my master goal, define enlarging the conversation, discuss how my background and behavior blend influences conversation, define barriers in my interpersonal context and possible solutions. Next slide. Identify internal and external noise pollution with possible solution. How I plan to improve my communication skills, which will invite others to join the conversation and hopefully decrease resistance and conflict. Next slide. What is interpersonal communication? Communication is continuous, complex, collaborative process of verbal and nonverbal meaning making. Interpersonal adds another dimension in which we connect with other personalities as a unique individual. Next slide. What is interpersonal communication? These combined tell us interpersonal communication is what happens when the people involved talk and listen in ways that maximize the presence of the person. Next slide. Master goal. My personal goal is to listen without judgment, develop my own self-awareness, and speak from the heart with respect. When I incorporate mindful listening, I become more competent in my ability to understand the needs of others, recognize how empathetic communication can enhance my personal as well as my professional relationships. Next slide. How do I strengthen myself and my identity? By enlarging the conversation. I must accept challenges and not take offense. Know it is from these challenges that I learn about myself. Be a true listener in a conversation. And a true listener must be present in the conversation. There must be interaction between the parties that demonstrate engagement. Next slide. My behavioral blend. Behavioral blend is described as a combination of personality types of a person. There are 4 types of personalities. I am an IS type, which is people-oriented, emotional, does not like conflict, faithful, positive, and confident. Next slide. My behavior blend and the effects on conversation. I tend to be more bossy and assertive when under pressure, especially at home. I can relate to a variety of cultures and able to hold my own in most conversations. Giving advice comes too naturally and too often. Next slide. How does my background influence a positive conversation? Being an RN for 30 plus years, I had the privilege to work in Europe, the continental United States, and Alaska. This has exposed me to a variety of cultures and lifestyles. Next slide. Being exposed to diverse cultures has enabled me to relax and be more open and engaged in the conversation. As a result, I'm able to listen more intently and have a better understanding of their lifestyle, family dynamics, and what they consider important to them. Next slide. Potential barriers with my interpersonal context. Prejudging, giving advice, not listening mindfully, negative body language when I disagree. Next slide. Solutions for the barriers. My goal is to be a good listener as defined by Peterson. Teeth marks in the tongue are a sign of a good listener. Concentrate on the speaker and know that advice is not warranted, and be aware of my body language. Next slide. What is noise pollution? Noise pollution is anything that prevents you from listening effectively, and there are 2 types, internal and external. Next slide. Internal includes biased listening, emotional listening, and self-conscious listener. External includes interruptions, environmental, like temperature of a room, and work pressure. Next slide. Some solutions for internal and external noise pollution are: have a positive attitude, work at listening, take meaningful notes, turn off cell phones. Next slide. Some focus on the speaker's idea, be comfortable, sit close to the lecturer, do not judge, and be open to new ideas. Next slide. acting on my master goal, listening more with my heart, be supportive without giving advice, be aware of my biases and try not to prejudge, do not give conflicting messages, be positive in my words and actions. Next slide. In summary, don't forget to count your blessings, no matter what they may be, and, next slide, always speak from the heart. Thank you. Next slide.